Welcome back to another season of your favorite podcast ever. I'm Hiba, your resident chaos HR agent. And this season, I'm going to try something a little different. Instead of focusing only on HR strategy or trends or hard truths like last season, I want to go even deeper. Yes, deeper than the hard truths I covered, into the things that shape who we are and how we show up at work. Because we all know that work doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's filtered through the many lenses of our lives, our identities, our circumstances, the messy human stuff we don't always talk about in the HR rooms, but we see play out every single day. And this season, we're starting with one of our biggest forces, motherhood. Motherhood changes you, your priorities, your energy, your perspective, and it also changes how the workplace sees you, often in ways that aren't fair or ever spoken about, which makes me so angry. And joining me today to dig into that topic is Erin Grau. Erin is the co-founder of Charter, a future of work media and research company recently acquired by the San Francisco Standard. She spent 2 decades at the intersection of talent and operations with executive roles at the New York Times and away. Her writing has appeared on Time.com and in Morning Brew's Ask a Resourceful Human column. She frequently speaks about gender equity, caregiving, organizational strategy, and the future of work. Today, Erin advises startups focused on culture, talent, DEIB, and HR tech, all fueled by her drive to pioneer better ways of working. Erin, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I was really struggling to get through that intro in the funniest way possible, that people don't hear it because they hear the final cut of this, right? Yeah. But I'm just bumbling today. It must be my Q4. It's my Q4.
You want to get into it. You're rushing to get into it.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Ever since Erin and I had a conversation weeks ago, I was like, this has to be a podcast episode. And I have to be friends with you. So now welcome to the pod and you're my lifelong friend.
Great.
You cannot get rid of me.
You recorded it, so it's forever.
It is on record, actually. So now everybody knows. We're going to have such a good time today. This season, I'm talking a lot about what plays into how we show up at work. And so I want to ask every guest this season, what's one part of your identity or life outside of work that shapes how you show up inside of work?
I have so many identities that I hold close to me. And so the motherhood one is obvious, so I will not say that. But I would say I am a breast cancer survivor, and that has probably shaped my people leadership and or just leadership in general, the way I show up in places. And that to me is with more humanity, more understanding, and also an impatience that I didn't have before, because once you're diagnosed with something that's so as serious as cancer, you think about the kind of time that you have left and impact that you want to make in that time. So
I felt first of all, thank you for sharing that with everyone listening. And I know you shared that with me on one of our first calls. And I just felt you also understood this time is so limited situation that I feel every single day of my life. And so after that call, that's honestly one of the reasons I was I must have her in my life, because life is too short to just kick it with people who I don't think are aligned with what you want to get out of this world and this experience.
Totally. And I think, you have your own story about why you have that worldview too, which you shared with me and really has stayed with me since we talked.
God, I told you I wasn't going to cry on this episode, but I'm already on the brink of tears.
Sorry.
We've barely gotten into it, Erin. I can't take it.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
I'm just a little emotional person. It's okay. Everyone who's listened to this pod has heard me say I'm going to cry on every single time. But I like a good cry, but it's sometimes hard to navigate all that life hands you and just walk out of it with a better outlook. So I think when you can fill your cup with people that you can talk to or learn from, it just feels so much better, honestly. And you do a lot of really critical work for the workplace, which just also feels deeply aligned with my values and all my goals in life.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And listen, let's get into motherhood because I know you have some thoughts and I know I'm not going to cry just once. It's going to be multiple times this episode. Okay.
But I think the next tears will be anger tears, I think.
Okay. We're placing the bets. Anger tears are coming. I've had those too.
Here we go. Yeah.
My mom used to know when I was like really angry, I would cry first and she'd be like, it's okay. Just like process the anger first and then we can get to what's making you sad. Like she always knew. Yeah. My mom knows that about me. I have to ask this question. I hate framing it this way, but I'm going to anyways. People often say the phrase, well, kids are so expensive. And they talk about this like monetary cost to kids, whether it be the diapers or the daycare. But I want to talk about like the real cost of motherhood in the workplace. So when people say that, what are you thinking of first?
So I think I have 2 kids. So I think of the dollar signs and like the cost of childcare and the cost of just raising kids today is extremely high. I mean, the cost of childcare annually in this country is like over $10,000. If you're in New York City like me, it's north of that. Wild. But the real, I think what you're getting at is like the real penalty, I think, or the real cost is the like lifetime earnings. Mothers earn 63 cents for every dollar fathers earn. And it's worse for women of color. So over like a decade-long career, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it can be economically devastating.
The angry tears have started.
Okay.
They're coming.
Yeah. A lot.
And when I think about that, like, how do you actually like make up that difference? Like it feels impossible when you're laying out the lifetime earnings are so impacted.
Yeah. I mean, the frustrating thing is mothers already have so much on their plate. Like to put it on mothers, it feels
sick.
It's frustrating. But and I think like organizations and companies have had to step up and lead in things like caregiving and like paid time off because we don't have the infrastructure in this country to support families and working mothers. So, but I mean, I think the answer is flexibility. Like what we're seeing right now is that there's an exodus of women, working mothers in the workforce specifically. And a lot of that is tied to more rigid return to office plans or mandates and less flexibility and the high cost of childcare. So
I could just care less for someone works and gets their work done as long as they can like take care of their life and still get their work done. Like who cares?
I wish more people thought that way. And I think some people believe that they think that way and they have a proximity bias that they aren't willing to recognize. So they think that if I can't see, for example, a working mother every day, then she must not be as committed. So, yeah.
It's like so wild. Proximity bias really lights me up sometimes, but that is really an episode for another day because I get really angry about it. But you shared that you are a mom. Have you felt that penalty of being a mother at work before?
Yeah. I mean, I felt it the moment I got pregnant and built the courage to tell my boss, who was a parent himself. And I was working on a project. It was a 2-year-long project. I was about a year and a half into the project. And he said, "Oh, but your career was going so well." Yeah. I know that's the exact appropriate reaction. And
jaws on the floor.
On the floor. And but at the time I didn't have any other experience. So I thought I was scared for a reason to tell him. It was validated when I told him. And my experience, that really shaped a lot of my experience. I kind of like slinked off to mat leave and felt nervous that my job was going to go away. I wouldn't have the ability to come back and have the same career or like a job I was excited about, a role I was excited about. And I came back and I actually worked with a few women and we rewrote the New York Times parental leave policy. And then we open sourced it for a lot of other organizations who have since, especially a lot of media organizations, have since adopted it. Thank you. And so I like channeled my rage at the time to make change for others. And I ended up getting pregnant again, and I got to enjoy that parental leave. And I think it was both the parental leave, but also the like culture was changing that we want to support families and working mothers. And this is the first way we're going to do that when you first go out on leave. And we just built more of a culture of support. So my second maternity leave at the same company was so different than my first because of the work a few women and I did.
That's amazing. And I'm sure that work like carries on today and like impacts so many people because it's such like an incredible milestone in someone's life. And I like your boss's response is like my worst nightmare. So like I actively coach our managers on like if someone comes and tells you these things, like here's the proper response.
Yes.
Here's the not proper response.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, it's important.
You don't want someone to like be so excited about this life moment and then suddenly start where you were, where you're like, you're feeling penalized for pursuing this incredible thing in life.
Totally. And I think that the other thing it taught me at the time was that, which I think was helpful, was that there will be people who are also parents, by the way, that have this bias against working mothers. And I was fed the like corporate feminism, like you can have it all. Like that's what I was told. And it was the first moment I was like, oh, wait, can I have it all? And now I don't want it all. But at the time, like it was a kind of almost helpful that I could understand how people would see me and like kind of address that directly, as strange as that might sound.
No, not strange at all. I was just laughing because I feel like we haven't heard anyone say you can have it all in so long. Like, I feel like we stopped saying that like pre-pandemic or like right at the pandemic. So it was like, wait, actually, like, no, you can't have it all because the systems are not set up to let you do all the things you want to do and achieve all the things you want to achieve.
Totally.
Which is what today's episode is about.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I don't think it came from a bad place. Like some of the women that were mentors to me early on, they would say things like, you have to outwork everyone. Like, you don't have to tell people that you are a mom. Like, you can keep those things separate. The thing that I learned about myself is I actually couldn't keep it separate. And I don't want to keep it separate. Like, I'm a mom all the time. I also, as a startup founder, like, bring a lot of my work into my life and the dinner table and conversations with my husband and with friends and with my kids. And they are kind of the reason I do a lot of the work I do. And so I didn't want to have to separate those things. And I think a lot of parents actually don't want to have to separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hide the part of yourself that is also like, I imagine becoming a mother, because I talk openly about this, like I have no children. I honestly joke sometimes I don't have many responsibilities because I don't have any pets either. I'm just responsible for this job. That might change someday. But I have had friends who have become mothers, and watching their journey like back into work, like watching their like compassion and care like change to a certain extent. Like they were already compassionate, already had care, but also I just feel like it can inform you in such an interesting and unique way where it like shapes how you can show up. And so I just think about that quite a bit. Like how do you think you like changed when you came back into the workplace from being a mother?
I was way more productive. Like the amount of time I would spend having meetings and going to the cafeteria and grabbing, coffee multiple times a day. Like I had to stop doing that because I had to focus a lot more, because the time I was away from my daughters like had to mean something to me. And so I had to have like a lot of impact in a shorter period of time. So that was like, I think that was kind of the biggest thing, but also like, I just felt a lot braver. I think I felt like, I had this like big responsibility, and I want my kids to be super proud of me. And I feel like I carry that around a lot with me in a motivating way. And yeah, but I mean, in so many big and small ways, but those are kind of the obvious ones, I think.
Yeah, there's all this, I mean, like we're going to get really into the motherhood tax that comes with, pursuing that. But I think there's also just this other interesting part to me that is like we've seen like people when they become mothers, they don't like dramatically have like a new personality. But I do think a lot of people show up at work with like a sense of, these are the hours, these are the boundaries. I'm going to do my best work in these hours. And it almost shapes you. I don't want to say for the better, but I do think it does make you like an incredible colleague, someone you would want that like respects people's time, that knows the hours are not endless, who believes in boundaries, who knows that there's a life outside these doors. I just think that makes for such an incredible colleague to like have that perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a good like forcing, for me, it was a good forcing mechanism. And I hope that other people would say it made me a better colleague for sure. I mean, I think it made me more empathetic. It made me like, not just to other parents, but to everybody. I think before I became a parent, I really spent a lot of time at work, like focused on work, thinking about work, and my career, and I was really ambitious at work. And after I became a parent, I became ambitious in so many ways. That was not just work. I kept that ambition, but I wanted to be like an amazing mother. I wanted to be like a great partner. I wanted to create a home that was like safe and fun, and where my husband and I shared responsibilities equally that my kids could see. And so I like appreciated more that other people maybe were more or less ambitious at work, but like maybe are ambitious or passionate about other things outside of work, and that was worth understanding.
Yeah. It all just like shapes, who we are. The whole theme of this season is like everything that we are at work is like shaped somehow by the experiences we're having, these milestones we're achieving, the life changes we're making. And I think like all of that is worth spending so much time digging into, because I do feel like a lot of the content around like being a mother digs into like that penalty piece that you and I are going to get to. But I wanted to take a minute and talk about like, there are some great things that come from people becoming mothers that shape how they can show up at work better for themselves and for like everyone they're around. And that can like make us all even better and rise to a different occasion. Like my CEO was telling me a story this morning about his daughter, and they like baked these cupcakes. It's like, bring your favorite school treat to work, bring your favorite treat to the school. Sorry, I made it about work. But she, after they had baked them, the dog had jumped up, like they left and the dog had jumped up and eaten all the muffins. And he's like telling me this story. And I'm like, I would have had a breakdown. I would have freaked out. I would have been like, what? I just baked 25 muffins. The dogs ate them. And then in the span of like an hour, he had gone and gotten all the ingredients and like baked the muffins again, so his daughter could take them to school. And I truly said to him on the call, I was like, you are a stronger person than me, because I fear that would break me. Like, yeah. I fear I would just be like, I'm good. I can't make these muffins again. And that's just a tiny story. But I do think like parents are built really differently. And that's why I like to spend time talking about, I might not be a parent right now or ever, but I do think there's so much we can learn from people having just like different life experiences, and caregiving is a massive one.
Totally. And I think all of us are caregiving in some way. And also about what you said. So one, I love hearing stories about fathers. I think we just need more of that in the workplace. And I think it like normalizes a bit more. There's so much about like women are distracted and they're spending time with their kids, and obviously people see it different ways. Like my husband and I have had this experience where he went to Trader Joe's with one of our kids one time. And he was like, this woman let me cut in line. It was amazing. And that has literally never happened to me when I have both kids with me. And so I know that the experience of fathers and mothers are very different. And, but I think it's going to be helpful to everybody, but especially women, to have more fathers saying, I'm spending time with my kids. I'm prioritizing that. Like I'm taking, I have a flexible schedule, or I'm going to take PTO and be offline, or I'm going to pick my kid up from school. Like that helps working mothers too. And so much of, I've written a lot about motherhood, and I wrote this piece for Time. It was called like Being a Working Parent Sucks Right Now. It was during the pandemic. And then I wrote a piece for Fortune that was Flexible Work is Feminist. And 100% of the people who wrote me were women. 100% were mothers. And I just like always want to say, hey, can you send this to like a man in leadership or your CEO? Like somebody needs to do something about it that is not women. And so I feel like calling more people into caregiving loudly is one answer.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I'm like, we offer the same leave for parental leave, regardless if you're the mother, the father, the whoever, whatever care, we just offer that because I think it's important for more men to take that leave. They've shown that data that it's like when men take the leave, like then, a lot of other outcomes come out of it. And so I think like also bringing them into the conversation, like motherhood shouldn't just be something that mothers can talk about.
Yeah. I think also I think this is the future. I think in the future, my kids will be sitting at a dinner table with us saying like, of course there wasn't like equality in workplaces and at home because you told moms that they should spend more time with their babies than fathers. And I also think that this is where the like inequity starts. Like when I had more time than my husband, and so I was the one that like set the doctor's appointment, set the schedule, and then he came in and I was like telling him how to raise his own daughter. And so I think there's something about that too that like sets up a more equal partnership.
Yeah, I definitely it's interesting. I spent a lot of time in my childhood with my father, but because he was at like a different part in his career by the time I was born, I'm much younger than my siblings. And I think about that so often because I have like so many fond memories. Like I'm also very close to my mother, but I have a lot of fond memories of like spending time with my dad, going to like used bookstores, going to thrift shops to find books, going to other stores, getting coffee and talking about books. Like a lot of my earliest memories are with him. And I think about that so often because I'm like, fathers, I want them to play like a really active part because I also think it helps them understand like what this burden can be like sometimes for mothers.
Yes.
And I like that empathy is so critical to like everything we do, which like I want to talk a little bit about this penalty though, the motherhood penalty, because I'm sure you're sitting on so much data. You've written about this. You've talked about this. Like, why does the data still show that mothers earn less and get promoted less than their peers?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, I guess the jobs report from the summer, you probably saw that 212,000 women left the workforce in the first half of the year. And at the same time, 44,000 men joined. And then also there's like a new report around, we've seen a 40-year low in motherhood workforce participation. And so it's like a crisis. And I feel like we've used that word so many times that people hear the word and they're like, is it really a crisis? Like, I actually think it is. It's a crisis right now. But for why, like, what I often point out is like, the economist Claudia Golden, she's a Nobel Prize winner. She proved that the pay gap that we see is actually not about, education or capability. That childless men and women earn like roughly similar amount of money, but the penalty hits the moment the child arrives. So the gap is not about us being a man or a woman. It's actually about how we divide caregiving. And until we have equity in our relationships, and we have things like gender neutral parental leave, where companies say, hey, you both are parents, you both should spend the same amount of time raising your child, like, we'll never have gender equality.
I was thinking about this because there's a book, Invisible Woman, that also like breaks out the data about this. And I think there's a whole chapter on leave as well, or pay. And I think that is just really interesting that you say that, because we in the US are one of 6 developed nations that doesn't have a form of federal paid leave for parents.
Yes, it's true. And it's just, there's so much pressure on the private sector right now to step up and lead in things like caregiving, mental health, racial justice. Like, I could go on. And I think as HR practitioners, it's really challenging to take care of our people when our role has changed, like organization's role in a person's life has also changed.
Yeah.
And we have to think about, how do we positively impact an employee, their family, their community 24/7 with fewer resources than we had a few years ago. So it's like messy and challenging. And I think there's a responsibility in organizations, and there's like real pressure that's needed, as you point out, like at the federal level, to have things like, affordable childcare, and like paid family and medical leave. And we just don't have that. And so companies have had to try to fill a gigantic gap.
That gap, I just feel like, is so wide right now. And as I like look into the future, my biggest fear is that gap continues to get wider, because as we think about companies, they do have to they're responsible to shareholders. They have to make a profit. And so they have to justify every cost. And so now if you're outsourcing a lot of these benefits, which I think rightfully everyone should have access to be very clear, but you're going to get to an uncomfortable part where a company is going to have to make a decision. I cannot actually offer that because I can't actually pay for that. And now the gap is going to be even bigger.
Totally. And what happens when more mothers leave the workforce and the company, like someone's looking at the benefits administrator is looking at usage of some of these benefits, and they're like, well, there's no one here to take them. So I guess
well cut them.
What we don't need. And so, it's so related to, DEI work, and some companies are focused on it and others have stopped focusing on it. And I think we're going to see a bigger impact there. I think with flexibility, when women take it, if they even have it anymore, like they get penalized in terms of, they don't get promotions, they don't get raises. And so some are dropping out of the workforce altogether. And so I think like the ripple effects of all of this, like it's a crisis now. And I think it's just going to get worse. Like there's not a lot of hope right now that we can reverse this unless something major changes.
God, I get so emo. I get so emo on these podcasts, actually. I've told the story like so many times. Somebody messaged me recently and was like, can you like do more positive episodes? And I'm like, I mean,
yeah,
I get the feedback because like I do have like these serious conversations about like really critical things that are happening, but I just feel like we cannot turn a blind eye because all of this is like also interconnected. Like when you layer on like not even just mothers, but like when you're from an underrepresented group, when race and all that gets into play, like it makes this even more complicated. And I think like we as HR cannot be ignorant about these things. We have to be so aware.
Totally. I totally agree.
And it like one of the places that I think irks me the most is like performance reviews. You mentioned it. Like, how have you seen like performance reviews and manager biases really play into this like motherhood penalty?
Totally. I mean, there are just so many biases against women. Like there's just so many.
It's nuts. Where to start? So
many. Like when you do this, when you're, if anyone's doing the like kind of trainings around performance reviews, like the women one, I think in particular is like wild. Like, I think for mothers, the bias, I like hate to even say this because I feel like it plays into I hate to really talk about it so much because I'd rather talk about the solutions. I think because I think we aren't as dedicated is what people think. We're not, as
wild
focused. We're distracted. Women have like the prove it again bias. Like there's so many times I've heard someone say, oh, like so-and-so would be great at this, but they just had a new baby, so maybe we don't want to bother them with it. Like, I think there's just like a lot, there's just so much there. And also I think like women are assigned these non-promotable tasks, like work that is like characterized as mattering to the organization, but it does not advance careers. And so many women are doing those tasks. And I think that comes up a lot also in performance reviews. Like, and during the year, we're like, do more of it. Yes. Like do the birthday party. Oh, like Sally set up, bring your kids to work day. This is amazing. But in performance reviews, that's not recognized. Culture building work is not recognized. And, or like clearing organizational debt is not recognized. It's like, how did you what was your impact on like revenue, for example? And so I think we need to consider more of those tasks too.
There's a whole book about this. I have to go look this up about like unpaid labor that women are doing in the workplace. And that type of stuff falls into there because it's like non-promotable, right? Like, oh, you're not committed to like advancing your career, but like you did all these great things to like help the culture and build a better team environment, right?
Totally. I think also there's like the idea, Bridget Schulte, do you know her? She's from Better Life Lab. She like calls it the performance of work, but we like confuse being busy with being effective. And what we were talking about earlier about mothers, like I felt like I got more productive and effective because my hours, like the ROI on every minute of my time in the office went way up after I had a kid because I like didn't have free time. So I was like, what is the most important thing I need to do right now? But I do think performance reviews, I've often seen people just say like that person is doing X, Y, and Z thing, or they're in this meeting. And like, I think it penalizes caregivers and wastes like talent and innovation.
Yeah. And I mean, you said this earlier, like you'd rather talk about the solutions. So like, let's talk about the solutions. Like I feel like we've covered this. Anyone listening to this who's a mother is probably like, yes, and more. I do really want to spend some time focusing on like, we can make it better in the future, but how do we do that? So like, what's one company policy that you've seen that can truly change the game for mothers?
Well, so one is, do you know Cakes, do you know Cakes Body? Do you know this company?
Is this the
nipple cover?
Yes. I don't know why, y'all, on this, I'm literally motioning down and I don't know why I didn't just say nipple covers. Like what was just wrong with me that I couldn't say that? Nipple covers, Cakes. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, they recently announced that they pay up to $36,000 a year in childcare costs for their employees with young children.
Wow. $36,000 is like an investment.
It's a huge investment, and it's life. That's life changing for these employees. And like, you can imagine the like productivity, the like loyalty, the engagement. increases that they see just by doing that, and the retention of these mothers, because it's important to them. So when things are important to an organization.
Here's my sick question though. Do you think they're classifying that as like taxable income too?
It's a great question.
That's such an HR question of mine. I'm like, how are they processing this?
Dig into. I don't know. I have to imagine the answer to that is yes, but I don't know how it's working. Like if there's some kind of credits or some kind of like reimbursement, I have no idea.
I love that was where my HR brain went of like
I think it's a good question, because you're thinking like, okay, if you're listening right now and you think this is a good idea, like how are you writing a proposal for your CEO?
Yeah, because then you're going to have to answer a lot of questions. Like if it's a refund or reimbursement, like, right, that's all technically taxable. You don't get away with doing it. It could be maybe through a benefit or a service where they can like use a service to book childcare. That could be really interesting.
Yeah.
That's an incredible benefit. Didn't a state also pass some sort of childcare credit to New Hampshire, Maine?
Yes, I think it was New Mexico. Now that we're saying this, right?
I'm dead that I'm like New Hampshire or Maine, and you're like New Mexico.
Wait,
so
now
wrong.
That we're saying this, it's New Mexico will be the first state to offer universal free childcare for children, which is wild. And I think a lot of states are trying to do this, and I do think this is a solution. Like, I want to push companies as far as I think we can get them, and I think we can get them further in supporting working moms. And I really don't want to take the pressure off of our states and our federal governments. So
it should all be working together. Like I do think at some point corporations will say the gap is too big. We already exist, but it's like, it's hard because I'm like, every corporation is a corporation for profit, right?
Yeah.
Like they have to make money. And so it's like, how am I going to justify like now spend more of it to take care of these employees? Like I can, and I do every day, but at the same time, I'm like, I could see a point where corporations are like, whoa, we're being squeezed for everything. So we don't want to do this. And I've seen companies since COVID scale back a lot of their benefits too.
Totally. I've seen that. Yes, totally. And I do think, I think it's just a matter of like, what is important to the organization? Like if you say retaining women and mothers is important to you, then you're probably going to have some kind of flexible work situation. You're probably not calling everyone into the office 5 days a week. You probably are supporting them and like childcare in some way, or you maybe are, auditing non-promotable tasks. Like you probably are doing those things. Most companies say they want to support women, and they just like don't do the work to do that. They want to retain women. They don't do the work to do that. And the way it shows up a lot in our work is that we've had people come to us saying like, we want to grow the leadership team to include more women. Like we want a pipeline of women into leadership. We're like, great.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Like that sounds awesome. And what are you doing? And they're like, well, we're telling them that actually to get promoted, they need to be in the office 5 days a week. And so we're telling them that that's what it takes to be promoted. We're like, well, why aren't you designing for the needs of women? Like, why is that not the starting point? And at most companies, it's not. They're like, we want this outcome. We're just like not willing to do the work or make the investment. And I think showing in our work, CEOs or executives, like the gap there, I think then they're like forced to make a choice. And sometimes, unfortunately, the choice is like, actually, we don't really want that outcome as bad as we say we do. And sometimes they're like, you're right. We should do something. We need to do more than we're doing.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So our policies are designed this way because my CEO was a parent. Like he had a child. He cared about the experience of his partner and other people going through like life-changing moments. And we were a series pre-seed to series A startup that had 8 people be able to take paternity leave. We didn't stop a single person. We had fathers take it, like really beautiful story, simply because my CEO had that life-changing experience and was like, we can offer this and, not make this terrible for everyone. I feel really grateful for that. But I think the hard part of solutions is you really can't just talk the talk. Like a lot of the solutions we're talking about will require time, investment, executive buy-in. And I think those are sometimes the hardest to get in a time where it feels like everybody is cutting costs.
Yes.
To say, and time is a cost in itself. Like you and I both know this, like that is like not tied down to like actual dollars and cents, but it does mean dollars and cents at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. And I wish more fathers would also design workplaces for parents, because right now, like, fatherhood boosts their careers, and for mothers, becoming a parent derails their careers. And I think that if we design for parents, like the tide rises all boats saying, I think applies. And so anyway, I yes to everything you're saying. And I think there's so many examples. There's so many examples of what we could do and how it moves the needle to retain women and like grow your pipeline of women and working mothers. And then there's also a lot of data now about how women are having to choose between flexibility and, you know, their careers or advancement, and they're leaving the workforce altogether, or they're moving to part-time. And so I think there's like enough there that if you were the kind of company that cares about this, you would make a different choice.
Yeah. And if leaders really want to retain working moms, like, where is an area you would tell them to start? Where should they start? Flexible schedules, 100%. I mean, like, where they're working, when they're working, I think, and then building the systems around that. So making sure like the guardrails are really clear, that you are like making the implicit explicit, that you don't offer flexible work, but then actually secretly want people to be in the office. And so women take it, or caregivers take it, and they're penalized. So there's a lot of like shoring up the flexible work. And I think for what it's worth, I think hybrid model works. Like, I don't think 5 days in the office makes sense. I've never seen any piece of data that supports 5 days in the office for most knowledge workers. So I think like flexibility to me is a place to start. And yeah. And I also think like modeling, like the example you just gave, I think modeling flexibility loudly, like, it really matters. Like, when I'm taking time with my kids in the middle of the day, or I'm taking care of myself, we use an emoji, like a heart emoji, to signal that we're caregiving, because caregiving is an important part of our lives. It's work that we do, and it's work that we value. And I think that's important to do it loudly. And I think some people do it quietly, especially a lot of fathers, I think, do it quietly. And I think the more that we are saying like, hey, I'm a caregiver of my dog, my mom, my sister, my husband, my kids, I think there's a lot of people we're all caring for. And I think we should be vocal about that. And then the last, I think, is like the non-promotable tasks. I like sound like a broken record about it. I think it's like slowly killing women's careers. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. I think there needs to be some kind of like audit. You need to like rotate the tasks. AI is also, we can be offloading so much to these Gen AI tools in terms of like note taking and reminders. And I think we should just be focused on that. That feels like an easy, free thing to do at so many companies. Yeah, the flexibility piece is so interesting to me, because when people talk about return to office, that's like my first thought is like, people genuinely need that flexibility. And like, we're just like at this inflection point where it's not even like motherhood too. Like, they're saying our generation, in the millennial group, like, we're going to have to be caregiving for our parents. Yes. Like, some of us already are. My sister is my mother's primary caregiver. Like, I try to help out where I can, but it's like all of these things flexibility helps with. So it's been like really disheartening to see companies say you have to come back 5 days a week.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah. Oh, sorry. Nearly, I think it's about a quarter now of Fortune 500 companies require full-time in-office work. And that's like about a double-digit increase from last year. And we see it's like pushing mothers out of the workforce entirely. You
read me the report literally said how many of them left. This like might be like such a mega question, but like, what would it take for people to really care about this? Like, I care about it. You care about it. Some CEOs who are good partners to their family, like, they care about it. Why doesn't it feel like more people don't seem to be worried about this? Do you think we're just like, well, we did this before COVID and we were fine, so it'll all be fine?
I think that the employer-employee contract has changed quite a bit, and the pendulum is really strong. So I think that a lot of businesses feel, or organizations feel, or shareholders feel like they feel that this isn't something that's high priority for them right now. And I think that's a very short-term view of what's going on. I think long-term, the companies that invest in creating the culture and conditions and programs to support working parents will have working parents in a couple of years, and the ones that don't will not, or they'll have fewer of them. So I think there's that. I think there's also, Claudia Golden talks about greedy jobs. Have you ever heard of this? Like, she talks about
No, tell me more.
And she talks about greedy jobs being like the jobs that we have to do away with greedy jobs, which are like the jobs that just require like so many hours, and you're just like celebrated for how many hours you can work. And caregivers, particularly working moms, can't have those jobs. And those jobs are like super high paying jobs. And so I think there is also like some kind of targeted work around some of these, what she calls greedy jobs, I think too.
I'm going to go Google that, because I'm going to be thinking about greedy jobs, and then you can come back for another episode on that. Because it is true. Even when people say like, oh, I love it when people are working like 12-hour work days. I'm like, I don't. Like, I've read the studies, like the average person's probably doing 4 to 6 good hours within the 8-hour workday. And I'm like totally okay with that.
Totally. I mean, you should read, I mean, like Claudia Golden suggests that this is actually something that would shrink the pay gap dramatically if we like really structured high paying jobs differently. So
I'm going to have to go read this now.
You have to, because think about the kind of people who can do some of those like finance and legal jobs. Like, they are people who do not have primary caregiving responsibilities. So there are not a lot of women.
Yeah. And I think about it a lot because I'm like a startup person. Like, I love startups, live and breathe and die by them. This is my 4th. And I feel like I might do it maybe for the rest of my life. Who knows? Eventually I might need to go somewhere a little more stable, but I like the chaos. But I do sometimes worry I don't want to work at a startup that feels inaccessible to parents. Because I think like startups, while you do tend to have like a more intense workload, I do also feel like we have like a really good sense of flexibility too.
I totally agree. I get asked this all the time, actually. And same, like, I think you have a lot more flexibility and autonomy. Like, I think, for our company, we try to hire grownups and then treat them like grownups. And so, and like, actually, I think if you treat people like that, they like rise to the occasion. And I think also, like, we have kids on our calls all the time. We ask about each other's kids. We have like a channel the Critters channel. So it's like pets and kids.
Cute.
Yeah, like, but it's just like something that we celebrate, we care about, and it's an important part of our lives and our like work community.
I love that. And I was just thinking, like, how can people who are coworkers, not just like companies, like just being a better coworker to working moms, like what are things that they could be doing to foster like better environments within their own communities?
Yeah, this makes me think of the pandemic, because actually there were so many examples in the pandemic because it was so hard for parents. And
yeah.
I think this one story at Chief, actually, someone who worked at Chief, the women's network, and they had set up a like virtual babysitting where you could take shifts and like someone on the team would like entertain your kids for a period of time. Isn't that like so smart? And of course,
I love that.
I know. But of course, like after the pandemic, like parenting is maybe not as hard, but it's like still hard. But it feels like we thought, okay, well, like it's better. It must be better for everybody. And it's hard in different ways, but it's like always just consistently hard. So I just feel like that things like that would be, I mean, that's maybe extreme, but like that is the best example. I think about it all the time of like, what might that look like? I also love, I talk about my kids a lot, and my colleagues who don't have kids ask about my kids a lot. And I love that because it feels like it recognizes like an important part of me. I feel like it's similar to birthdays. Like if someone has a birthday, I'd be like, how was your birthday? I feel like it's like that.
Great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think I give them permission to do that. So I think there's that. I think that the empathy and the understanding, like, look, when I was in my 20s and I would watch a mom leave the office at 5 o'clock and I was in the office until 7, 8, 9, like I was really judgmental. Like I actually thought that like that person must not be working as hard. I didn't understand. And so part of, I think, my responsibility as a parent is to like kind of open that and say, this is what I'm doing, or like, I'm going to work on these hours, which are different than your hours. And that's okay, because I have different responsibilities and I work better and more productively at different times a day. And we have user manuals at our company, and we like create those. Yeah. And it's so helpful. So I feel like letting someone in on the way that you work best and the things that matter to you, I think, make someone more empathetic and a better colleague.
I also think we are all starving for connection. So like the more you can connect with your coworkers, and just even if they have a different experience than you, showing them that you care about their experience, like I think it'll pay back tenfold, because they're going to show up and do the same for you. The happy birthday analogy is great. Like I want everyone to acknowledge my birthday. Like just so I make it a point to also know other people's birthdays, but also like when kids stuff comes up or someone even dares to tell me their child's name, because like some people are so personal, they're like, I don't want you to know anything about my kids. But like when people do tell me about their kids, I like make notes about it. And I'm like, I'm going to ask about these things, because this is like, I might know nothing, but my perspective gets so much better the more I can understand other people's perspectives. And for HR, when we're writing policies, I imagine that like when I'm writing them, I might not be thinking about parents. I might not be thinking about mothers and working fathers. And then it's going to be on me to go and leverage like what I know from that community, or even asking them like, what do you think about this policy? How can I make it more inclusive? Like that type of work we have to think about as HR as well. As like we are building an experience for so many different type of people. So we have to be curious about what that actually looks like for everyone else.
Totally. And I think as a parent, like it changes so much over time. Like what my kids needed when they were babies is so different than what they need at 8 and 11. Their schedules are even different. Like say the hours between 6 and 8 p.m. they belong to my kids. They're not even mine to give away. Like even if you put a meeting on my calendar,
You're not
doesn't belong to me. It's funny. Like I actually love working, and I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, it's like sad that you have to work and you have kids. I'm like, well, I want to work. And my husband actually, like after I had my first daughter, I was talking to him once about, we had other friends who's mostly the women were deciding to stay at home full time. And I asked him if he ever thought about me working from home. And to be clear, I was like, I've never thought about it. Have you thought about it? Like me not being in the workforce and like working, being a full-time mom. And he said, I think that if you didn't work, your kids wouldn't know who you truly are. And I think about that all the time. It's so true. Like, I think I am a better mom because of the work I do. And I'm like such a better leader because of the parenting I do.
That is, I mean, like it's such a big part of you. And I'm sure like there are a lot of analogies between the work that we do and like caregiving as parents, and like the empathy and the compassion we have to have as you're like building and growing companies. That awareness, I'm sure, also feeds into when you're talking to your daughters about things or working with them on something tough. Like that level of empathy and compassion, I think, translates across the board.
Yeah, totally agree.
I feel like you've just opened my eyes to so many things, but also I leave every single conversation with moms as like, moms are my superheroes. I often say like my relationship with my mother is probably like my greatest love story. Like I might have loved so many other people, but like my mom is it for me. Like I love that woman. I'm going to cry. Look at me. I told you it would happen. No, but like you just look at everything moms go through and you just can't but help but say like, holy shit, like I want to be that superhero someday, but like their system is like not set up to support them.
It's not. But also like this conversation is helpful. Like I think having someone like you with your platform talking about this right now is so meaningful. It's so meaningful. And I think it really is going to change. And I think it's just going to take a lot of like energy. And I think we're building that right now. And these conversations are really important in building empathy and understanding and like create like ideas and how do you build the right structures and support systems for working parents to thrive and stay in the workforce.
I will never shut up about this. That's like, not a mom, but I will literally never shut up about this because everyone needs to know. It's hard. It's not great. It's not great.
And I think like and I think even if you don't have children, like, don't you want to work somewhere that like cares so deeply about the humans that you care about? Like, that really feels like you can thrive at work as a parent, as somebody who's like dedicated to whatever things you're dedicated to outside of work, that like, you know, you are an amazing like human and employee that's like worth time and resources and support.
Yeah. I want to build a better workplace for all my friends.
Yeah.
Like that. I'm like all my friends that are going through, like, I want to build a better workplace for like everyone. But you're so right. Like, we as humans, like, don't you want to build that for someone? Like, I would want to build a workplace where my mom could thrive with her 4 kids and like get to have the career. Whereas my mother, her entire life was like, I sacrificed everything just to raise you all. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but I don't want that to be a choice that everyone has to make. Doesn't feel fair to me. And so I have to leave with like one last question. Imagine a future of work designed with moms at the center. What would it look like?
I sound like a broken record again, but it's flexible. It's the people practices are human centric. It is an organization that's thinking about the impact you're having for the long term, where like your work is so deeply connected to the purpose of your organization. You understand the through line between your work and how it's driving your business forward, and like how you're making your corner of the world better. I think it's a place where you can be a parent loudly, and your kids are kind of in the picture, whether that's like a picture on your desk or on the video screen on Zoom. And it's the kind of place that your kids can feel so proud that their parent is working in. And yeah, I think it's something that we're trying to actively like build at Charter by, you know, I think we do so much reporting on this, and it's like, we know we have so much data and information, and you have so much data and information, like our HR practitioners like have so much of it. And I think, anyway, I could go on and on, but I think, I think it's so possible. It's like ambitious and bold, but so possible, because what we're asking for working moms in particular is like not revolutionary right now. It is like, it's table stakes. It's like, hey, listen, like childcare costs have gotten super high. Can you help subsidize that? Like, I need flexibility because, by the way, school is 9 to 3 every day. And I don't always have access to quality, affordable childcare. And so, and the workday, by the way, is not 9 to 3. It's like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 6. You know, it's not set up. And forget about the summers, I mean, and summer camps. And so I think we want flexibility. We want the ability to take our kids to the doctor or be there when they're sick. Like, my kid wants me when she's sick, and I want to be with her when she's sick. And she needs me a lot more than any organization I have ever worked in.
Preach. You're saying that, and I was like, I don't know. That's like the most excellent place to end this episode. First of all, I told you I would cry, and I did. So we achieved that today. But I think continuing to have these conversations is so important. And like, we cannot take our eye off of them, honestly. Like, if you get caught up in the mess of the day to day, it's really easy to lose sight of what experience are we delivering for the humans who are experiencing our workplace. And we just have to keep thinking about that. And Charter has a ton of data on this. Like, I love all the stuff you all put out. Like, I write about as often as I can and reference whatever I can. And I think like there are a lot of good resources out there. If you're building the case for, I want to do this certain thing, there are companies out there like Cakes, like you mentioned, that are trying to make this not have women leave the workplace in waves all the time. So I feel like just a renewed commitment to trying to make the world a better place, especially at work. And I'm like, honestly, just honored that you spent time with me this week. And I can't wait to see you in person next month.
I know. I'll see you so soon. Thank you so much. I loved our conversation. Like, I've loved every conversation. And I'm just like so proud to work with people like you to make work better. Like, I think we're all so motivated by that work, like, and we see the possibility. And I think the more of us that are like talking about this and working toward it, the better.
Yeah. And then for people who want to get in touch with you, I always put your LinkedIn in the show notes, but any other way that they can find you, learn more about you, talk to you.
Yeah, my email address is e@charterworks.com. Very
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, but LinkedIn works too. I'm like pretty accessible and would love to send articles, send open source the parental leave recommendation we had made originally at the Times that worked. And so I send that to people all the time. I still get LinkedIn outreach about it.
Love that. Well, Erin, I've said thank you a million times, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do think like we are all force multipliers and we will make this world a better place. How's that for positive?
Let's do it.